Bergelmir, along with his wife, were the only giants to survive the great flood of blood that poured from Ymir's wounds when Odin killed him. Today on Deca Rankings, we're going over the Jötnar, giants of Norse mythology. Long before the 9 realms were even fully formed, there were giants who embodied the untamed forces of nature itself, the Jötnar. While there are over 100 named Jötnar, we'll just be exploring those that have some story associated with them in Norse mythology. Let's begin. Tier 1. The major Jötnar. Ymir, the primordial giant. Ymir was the first being to exist, emerging from the melting ice where Niflheim met Muspelheim in the primordial void of Ginnungagap. From his body came all other frost giants, born from the sweat of his armpits and from between his legs as he slept. When Odin and his brothers Vili and Ve killed Ymir, they used his corpse to create the world. His flesh became earth, his blood the seas, his bones the mountains, and his skull the sky. All frost giants trace their lineage back to Ymir, making him the ancestor of countless beings who would challenge the gods for ages to come. Surtur, the fire giant of Ragnarok. Surtur is the fearsome fire giant who rules Muspelheim, the realm of flames, wielding a blazing sword that burns brighter than the sun itself. He is destined to play the most destructive role at Ragnarok, leading the fire giants out of Muspelheim to wage war against the gods. During the final battle, Surtur will slay Freyr, the god of fertility and harvest, because Freyr foolishly gave away his magical sword to win the hand of the giantess Gerda. After the gods fall, Surtur will set fire to the entire world, engulfing all 9 realms in flames and reducing everything to ash before a new world rises from the destruction. Loki, the trickster giant. Loki is a Jotun by birth, son of the giant Farbauti and the giantess Laufey, though he became a blood brother to Odin and lived among the Aesir. His giant heritage explains his chaotic nature, shape-shifting abilities, and his role as both helper and destroyer of the gods. Loki's 3 monstrous children with the giantess Angerboda, Fenrir the wolf, Jörmungandr the world serpent, and Hel, ruler of the dead, will all fight against the gods at Ragnarok. At the final battle, Loki will lead an army of the dead from Hel's realm against his former allies, proving that his giant blood ultimately determines his destiny. Thrym, the hammer thief. Thrym was the king of the frost giants who committed the unthinkable crime of stealing Thor's hammer Mjolnir while the thunder god slept. He demanded the beautiful goddess Freyja as his bride in exchange for returning the weapon, knowing that without Mjolnir, Asgard was defenseless. The gods devised a plan where Thor disguised himself as Freyja in a wedding dress and veil, attending the feast in Jotunheim with Loki disguised as a bridesmaid. When Mjolnir was brought out and placed on the bride's lap as part of the ceremony, Thor immediately seized it and slaughtered Thrym and all the giants at the wedding feast. Skadi, the winter goddess. Skadi was a fierce giantess, daughter of Thiazi, who arrived at Asgard fully armed and ready for war after the gods killed her father. The Aesir offered her compensation, allowing her to choose a husband from among the gods, but she could only see their feet. She chose what she thought were Baldur's beautiful feet, but they actually belonged to Njord, the sea god, and she married him instead. Despite being a giantess, Skadi became accepted as a goddess, associated with skiing, winter, hunting, and mountains, showing that the line between giant and god wasn't always clear. Thiazi, the eagle kidnapper. Thiazi was a powerful shape-shifting giant who could transform into a massive eagle, and he used this ability to kidnap Idun, the goddess who guarded the golden apples of youth. Without Idun's apples, the gods began to age rapidly, their immortality slipping away, forcing them to desperately negotiate for her return. Loki was sent to rescue Idun, and when Thiazi pursued them in eagle form, the gods set fire to him as he flew over Asgard's walls, killing him. Thiazi's eyes were later taken by Odin and thrown into the sky where they became stars, a strange honor for a giant who nearly destroyed the gods' immortality. Angerboda, mother of monsters. Angerboda, whose name means the one who brings grief, was a giantess from Jotunheim who became Loki's consort and bore him 3 of the most dangerous beings in Norse mythology. Her children were Fenrir, the monstrous wolf destined to kill Odin at Ragnarok, Jörmungandr, the world serpent who encircles Midgard, and Hel, the half-dead goddess who rules the underworld realm of the same name. The gods feared Angerboda's offspring so much that they bound Fenrir with unbreakable chains, threw Jörmungandr into the ocean, and cast Hel into Niflheim. Despite never appearing in major myths herself, Angerboda's influence through her children shapes the entire destiny of the Norse cosmos. Hrungnir, the stone giant. Hrungnir was called the strongest of all giants, with a body and head made of stone and a heart shaped like a sharp-edged triangle. He once drunkenly challenged Odin to a horse race, and after losing, was invited into Asgard, where he became belligerent and threatened to destroy the hall and kidnap the goddesses. Thor confronted him in single combat, and during their duel, Hrungnir threw his massive whetstone at Thor, while Thor threw Mjolnir at the giant. The hammer shattered Hrungnir's stone skull, killing him instantly, but a piece of the whetstone became lodged in Thor's head where it remained forever, causing him pain whenever anyone dropped a whetstone on the ground. Utgard-loki or Skrymir, master of illusions. Utgard-loki was a cunning giant king who ruled a fortress in Jotunheim, and he was a master of illusions and trickery far beyond what any god could detect. When Thor, Loki, and their companions visited his hall, he challenged them to seemingly simple contests, but each was actually an impossible illusion designed to humiliate them. Thor tried to drain a drinking horn that was secretly connected to the ocean, wrestle an old woman who was actually the concept of old age itself, and lift a cat that was really Jormungandr the world serpent in disguise. After revealing the truth, Utgard-loki admitted he was terrified of the gods' actual power and begged them never to return, then vanished his entire fortress using magic. Geirrod, Thor's treacherous host. Geirrod was a giant who captured Loki and forced him to lure Thor to his hall without the thunder god's weapons or magical belt of strength. As Thor journeyed to Geirrod's fortress, he stayed with the helpful giantess Grid, who warned him of the trap and lent him her own magical staff, belt, and iron gloves. At Geirrod's hall, the giant's daughters Gjalp and Grape tried to crush Thor by raising the seat he sat upon toward the ceiling, but he used Grid's staff to push back and broke their backs. Geirrod then threw a red-hot piece of iron at Thor, but the thunder god caught it with Grid's iron gloves and threw it back, killing Geirrod and burning through his body and the wall behind him. Ymir, the fishing giant. Ymir was a giant with an unusually hard skull who owned a massive cauldron that the gods needed for brewing ale. Thor visited Ymir and volunteered to go fishing with him, and when Ymir caught 2 whales, Thor baited his hook with the head of Hymir's largest ox. Thor hooked Jormungandr, the world serpent, and began pulling the monster up from the ocean depths, preparing to kill it with Mjolnir. However, Ymir panicked, knowing that if Thor killed Jormungandr, it would trigger Ragnarok, and cut Thor's fishing line, allowing the serpent to escape back into the depths. Suttung, guardian of the mead of poetry. Suttung was a giant who possessed the mead of poetry, a magical drink that granted anyone who consumed it the gift of eloquence and poetic skill. After the dwarves Fjalar and Galar murdered his father Gilling, Suttung threatened to drown them in the sea unless they gave him the precious mead as compensation. He hid the mead deep inside the mountain Hnitbjörg and set his daughter Gunnlod to guard it day and night. Odin infiltrated the mountain in serpent form, seduced Gunnlod over 3 nights, and stole all 3 vessels of mead, flying back to Asgard as an eagle with the giants in furious pursuit. Mimir, the wisest being. Mimir was a giant renowned as the wisest being in all the 9 realms, guardian of the Well of Wisdom located at one of Yggdrasil's roots. Odin sacrificed his own eye to Mimir in exchange for a single drink from the well, gaining immense cosmic knowledge that would guide his rule. During the Aesir-Vanir War, Mimir was sent to the Vanir as a hostage, but they beheaded him and sent his head back to Odin. The Allfather used his magic to preserve Mimir's head and keep it alive, and he would consult it for wisdom and prophecy throughout his reign, keeping his advisors' counsel even in death. Bestla, mother of Odin. Bestla was a giantess, daughter of the giant Bolthorn, who married Bor, son of the first Aesir, Buri, and became the mother of the 3 creator gods. She bore 3 sons, Odin, Vili, and Ve, who would go on to slay Ymir and create the world from his corpse. This means that Odin himself is half giant, his mother's blood flowing through the veins of the Allfather and explaining some of his more ruthless actions. Odin learned 9 powerful magic songs from his grandfather Bolthorn, giant wisdom that would serve him throughout his long reign, including the spell he used to resurrect Mimir's severed head. Grid, the helpful giantess. Grid was a giantess who proved that not all giants were enemies of the gods, saving Thor's life when he was traveling to Geirrod's hall unarmed. She warned Thor about Geirrod's treachery and lent him 3 magical items, her staff Gridavola, her belt of strength, and her iron gloves. Grid also bore a son to Odin named Vidar, the silent god who will avenge his father's death at Ragnarok by tearing Fenrir's jaws apart. Tier 2. Notable Jötnar. Bergelmir, the flood survivor. Bergelmir was the grandson of Ymir, who, along with his wife, were the only giants to survive the great flood of blood that poured from Ymir's wounds when Odin killed him. They escaped on a hollowed log or wooden chest floating above the deluge that drowned all other giants. From this single couple, the entire race of frost giants was reborn, ensuring that the Jötnar would continue to challenge the gods throughout the ages. Gunnlod, guardian of the mead. Gunnlod was Suttung's daughter, who was given the impossible task of guarding the mead of poetry inside the mountain, where no one could reach it. Odin seduced her over 3 nights, convincing her to give him 3 sips of the mead, but with each sip he drained an entire vessel. After Odin fled, Gunnlod was left alone, betrayed by the Allfather, her father's treasure stolen and her honor compromised. Gerda, Freya's bride. Gerda was a beautiful giantess whose radiance lit up the sky when she raised her arms, catching the attention of the god Freya, who fell desperately in love with her. Freya sent his servant Skirnir to woo her, but she refused all offers of golden apples and magic rings. Only when Skirnir threatened her with terrible curses did she finally agree to meet Freya, and they married, though Freya had to give up his magical sword to win her, a decision that would lead to his death at Ragnarok when he faced Surtur unarmed. Jarnsaxa, mother of Thor's sons. Jarnsaxa, whose name means Iron Cutlass, was a giantess who became one of Thor's lovers and bore him 2 sons, Magni and Modi. After the final battle when Thor dies fighting Jörmungandr, Magni and Modi will inherit Mjolnir and help rebuild the new world. Gjalp and Greip, Geirrod's daughters. Gjalp and Greip were the 2 daughters of the giant Geirrod who attempted to kill Thor when he visited their father's hall. They tried to crush Thor by magically raising the seat beneath him toward the ceiling while he sat in their father's chair. Thor used Grid's magical staff to push back against the ceiling with such force that he broke both giantesses' backs, killing them before confronting their father. Egger, the sea giant brewer. Egger was a sea giant who lived beneath the ocean waves with his wife Ran, and was famous for hosting elaborate feasts for the gods in his underwater hall. He brewed the finest ale in all the 9 realms in his massive cauldron, and the gods frequently visited him for celebrations. Despite being a giant, Egger maintained friendly relations with the Aesir, representing the rare possibility of peaceful coexistence between the 2 races. Ran, the net-wielding giantess. Ran was Aegir's wife, a sea giantess who dragged drowning sailors down to her underwater hall using her magical net. She and Aegir had 9 daughters together, who personified the waves of the ocean, and these 9 wave maidens collectively birthed the god Heimdallr. Sailors who drowned and went to Ran's hall were considered more fortunate than those who went to Hel's realm, as her underwater domain was a place of feasting and celebration. Vafthrudnir, the wise giant. Vafthrudnir was renowned as one of the wisest giants, and Odin traveled to his hall in disguise to test his knowledge in a contest. They exchanged questions about the creation of the world, the fate of the gods, and the secrets of Ragnarok, with each answering perfectly. Finally, Odin asked what he whispered into Baldur's ear as his son lay on his funeral pyre, a question only Odin himself could answer, and Vafthrudnir realized he had been hosting the Allfather, conceding defeat to his divine rival. Hyndla, the Velva giantess. Hyndla was a giantess and Velva, seer, who possessed deep knowledge of genealogies and the lineage of heroes. The goddess Freyja sought her help to learn the ancestry of her mortal protégé Ottar, riding to Hyndla's cave and demanding she reveal the information. Hyndla recited long lists of ancestors and gave Ottar the Ale of Remembrance, so he wouldn't forget what he learned, showing that some giants possessed sacred knowledge that even gods needed. Lofi or Nile, Loki's mother. Lofi, also called Nal, was a giantess and the mother of Loki through her union with the giant Farbauti. Her name means leafy island or needle, with different traditions emphasizing different aspects of her nature. Little is known about her character or deeds, but through her son Loki, her bloodline would profoundly shape the fate of the gods and bring about their ultimate destruction at Ragnarok. Farbauti, Loki's father. Farbauti was a giant whose name means cruel striker or dangerous hitter, suggesting a violent or storm-like nature. He fathered Loki with the giantess Laufey, passing on the giant heritage that would make his son eternally caught between the world of gods and giants. Some scholars interpret his name as connecting him to lightning, making Loki's birth a union of natural forces. Sinmora, Surtur's wife. Sinmora was the wife of Surtur, the fire giant. In some accounts, she guards the legendary sword, Levatine, which could potentially be the same blazing weapon Surtur wields at Ragnarok. Her name possibly means Sinew Mara, or refers to something pale or golden, connecting her to the fire realm of Muspelheim. The 9 mothers of Heimdallr. 9 giant sisters, Atla, Angeja, Eistla, Eirgjafa, Gjalp, Greip, Imdir, Jarnsaxa, and Ulfrun collectively gave birth to the god Heimdallr in a mysterious, magical conception. These daughters of the sea giant Aegir are often identified with the 9 waves of the ocean, suggesting Heimdallr was born from the sea itself. With Odin as his father and 9 giantesses as his mothers, Heimdallr represents a unique bridge between gods and giants, gifted with extraordinary senses that allow him to guard the Bifrost Bridge. Baugi, Suttung's brother. Baugi was Suttung's brother who unwittingly helped Odin steal the mead of poetry through trickery and deception. Odin, disguised as a worker named Belverk, labored for Baugi for an entire summer in exchange for a drink of Suttung's mead. When Suttung refused to share even a single drop, Baugi helped Odin drill into the mountain, but Odin escaped as a serpent before Baugi realized he'd been used. The Jötnar weren't only enemies of the gods, they were also their ancestors, lovers, teachers, and ultimately their destroyers. The gods may rule from Asgard, but giant blood flows through their veins, and at Ragnarok, the Jötnar will have their final reckoning. If you enjoyed this journey through Jötunheim, smash that subscribe button. See you next time. Peace out.